Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And during the Thanksgiving holiday, a story that traveled around the world, of course, as we know here on the BuzWeaver channel, and you can hit that like button because you know the prosecutorial misconduct, the lawfare against Donald Trump, the political persecution against Donald Trump heard round the world on election fraud here in the state of Georgia has now been dropped. Conveniently, during the Thanksgiving holiday, when everyone is going about their business. This was the case, one of many, that they used against Donald Trump in lawfare to shut him down, convince as many people as possible not to vote for him. Now, before I continue to wax, let's get into the story from NBC News. Georgia prosecutor who took over 2020 election interference case drops charges against Trump and others. So Pete Skandalakis, who took over the case after Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis was disqualified, said the case was without precedent. Ladies and gentlemen, you already know how I feel about this and how you guys feel about this, because we knew this was yet another knee-jerk reaction. It wasn't about the rule of law. It wasn't about justice. It wasn't about fairness. It wasn't about equity. It wasn't about making sure that no one was above the law. This was a targeted, intentional lawfare against Donald Trump. You guys know it, and here we are. Over the quiet of the Thanksgiving weekend, a Georgia judge ended the sprawling 2020 election interference case against President Donald Trump and his co-defendants after the prosecutor who took it over said he was dropping the charges. The decision from Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee came shortly after prosecutor Peter Skandalakis notified the judge he would not proceed with the charges. Skandalakis took over the case earlier this month after the original prosecutor, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, was disqualified, as opposed to Fannie Willis, as some people call her. In my professional opinion, the citizens of Georgia are not served. I should say citizens of the United States and the world are not served by pursuing this case in full for another 5 to 10 years, which is the whole purpose of it, was to drag it out. Skandalakis wrote saying he was ending the case to serve the interests of justice and promote judicial finality. Well, this is what happens. This is what needs to happen in New York. The famous mugshot seen around the world. This was the play. This was the knee-jerk reaction. This was the, I guess, pinnacle of what the establishment uniparty and the Democrats were trying to do, was paint Donald Trump as a one-dimensional villain. And in the cowardice of their behavior, in their cowardice, they had to do this during the Thanksgiving weekend. Now, you guys may recall, this goes all the way back to February of 2021 by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. A grand jury of 23 citizens handed up the indictments on August the 14th. And you may also know that this was partly the case, was spurred in part by a January 2021 recorded phone call by Trump made to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, in which he asked him to find the 11,780 votes, one more than the margin of Trump's loss in Georgia. And you may remember, too, just recently now, when the Democrats were coming out and were planting the seed of doubt in people's minds by suggesting that the military should not follow illegal orders. Of course, we all know the implication, the inference they were making through semantics was that Trump was issuing illegal orders because this is what they pursued or that's what they're saying he's doing with the National Guard here in many of the different blue states, is that he's giving illegal orders or that he's illegal. But they're just mad because they think that he infiltrated the chief executive office to undermine their will. And, of course, you may remember Jenna Ellis caved to the pressure. And I can't really say that I blame her. I know there's a lot of fellow commentators that were very angry that she did this. But these are people's lives that these establishment people are pursuing. They destroy people, ladies and gentlemen. They destroy people. And in most cases, in the instance, say, for example, Donald Trump, someone like Trump probably would have, caved way back when he was coming down the escalators, and they started pursuing him then. But Jenna Ellis, of course, caved, and now, of course, she had started her own podcast and all this, I think, had just crumbled apart. Her life had fallen apart. They'd taken away her license to practice. They've done all kinds of things. And, of course, Sidney Powell was another one who also caved. And it's important to note here that these two attorneys were working as attorneys should. They had the right to generate and create the legal documents needed to pursue a case. So they did not do anything illegal at all. They were just simply they were pursuing Jenna Ellis on RICO, which is ridiculous. But at the same time, here you are as an individual, and you're working with a very powerful individual, and his enemies are even more powerful or equally as powerful. Of course, they have the weight of government behind them. And so it's understandable that Jenna and Sidney would have caved because they just don't want to deal with the constant pressure. But now you can see that it was all basically for naught because it's been dropped. The whole thing has been dropped. And even here on X, fellow commentator Tim Pool, of course, is who I was saying was very upset with her and, saying that these individuals should not have dropped the case. But the thing is, these are very, very powerful figures. These are very, very powerful people with all kinds of power behind them. But you can see here on X, a few people have covered it. But the mainstream media did not go mainstream with this over the weekend, not during Thanksgiving, not at all. So this was a perfectly timed cowardice thing that they do because they're disgusting, despicable, evil people that are truly disgusting. And I wanted to play a little bit of this from NBC, and you can even hear in her wording the smug, sarcastic venom that they spewed during this time.
Tracking for years now, a judge has ended the Georgia election interference case against President Trump and his co-defendants. It comes after the prosecutor who took over the case said he was dropping those charges. You may remember this was the last criminal prosecution the president faced, stemming from his efforts to subvert the 2020 election. Joining us now, NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs Correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. Kelly, this prosecutor took over the case after Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis was disqualified. Why did he drop these charges?
Well, good to be with you, 𝐋𝐚𝐤. And he says that he has reviewed the information and he does not believe it is in the interest of the people of Georgia to bring this prosecution and continue it for what could be years to come, especially against a sitting president of the United States and an array of other co-conspirators who were alleged in this indictment that has now been dropped.
Exactly. Because, ladies and gentlemen, everyone here on the BuzWeaver channel already knows the political persecution, the political pursuits of these evil, disgusting people and what they did to convince as many people as possible not to vote for Donald Trump, and it failed in November. The most beautiful, the most redeeming, the most extraordinary thing that happened on November the 5th, 2024, was the world seeing that no one was buying what these obnoxious, evil, disgusting people were selling. And I am so grateful to my fellow Americans who saw through the nonsense, because you guys know the level of frustration, irritation, and annoyance. Watching people, like watching a child playing with a gun. This is what the establishment does every day. They go on their social medias and they do everything they can to destroy Donald Trump. But in the end, Trump hung in there and pulled it out. And I am so grateful that he did. And I am amazed that this is not getting more airtime, but not extraordinarily unsurprised that it's not. I need to see this happen in New York. This needs to happen in New York. The political persecution and I was going to say political. I'm going off. I'll think of it here in a minute. I'll post it here in a minute if I can think of it. The political persecution that was going on, prosecutorial misconduct, was what I was looking for there, ladies and gentlemen, because it's just so extraordinary what they have done in this country and to this country. Because the establishment uniparty is, that's what they do. They try to destroy everything. They had a president who was in cognitive decline so they could push their agendas, get all these people in from, the issues with the border, get all these people in there so they could get their seats, get their electoral votes, get congressional seats. All these things are starting to unfold now. We're seeing it all unfold. And I'm grateful to Donald Trump. I'm grateful that he is continuing to win these battles against the establishment who are continuing to pull these games on him. especially the one with illegal orders, which was ridiculous. But nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for your guys' continued support. It's been an amazing 2025. I want to thank all of you guys across NewTek, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, and of course, below this video, you can find the various social media links that I belong to, as well as my affiliate marketing links, and you guys know how those work. But your support, likes, your shares, and your comments help out the channel tremendously, and I thank all you guys for it. Appearing there on the screen, that's going to be the channel icon. You guys can click on that if you're watching here on YouTube, of course, to subscribe to the channel, as well as to select notifications. That way you know there's content here on the channel, and I'll see all you guys in the next video.